There we go, and we're just going to do a rundown on beginner archery. So it's just after Christmas, and there's a lot of people who have bought bows like this here, and a lot of people who don't actually do archery themselves. They bought them for their kids, you know, their parents. They really don't know what they're doing. They've probably had a rundown when they were picking up the bow, and they just might have forgot a few things, and this video here will hopefully be able to jog your memory. So to start with, we'll run down just the very basics. So when we do archery, we're going to stand side on, and then we're just going to turn our head and point our arm to the target. From there, we're just going to put the arrow on and clip it on the string. And we're going to take our 3 fingers, put our 3 fingers directly under the arrow. We're going to look as hard as we can at what we want to hit. We're going to draw the bow back, put our top finger right in the corner of our mouth, and release. Once we've released, we're not going to move until the arrow hits the target. Okay, I'll just show you that again. So arrow on, clipped onto the string, 3 fingers under, draw, top finger right in the corner of my mouth, release, and don't move until the arrow hits the target. Okay, so like I said before, first thing, when we shoot a bow, we always work from the ground up. So first thing is our stance, side on, move our head, and look at the target. Okay, the next one is obviously point our hand at the target, and then we have the arrow. So the arrow is going to simply sit on the shelf, and it is going to clip on. And if you bought a bow off of us, it will have these 2 rings. So the arrow is clipping on directly in the middle of the 2 rings. Okay, and if you'll notice, there's a singular coloured fletch and there's 2 fletches. The singular coloured fletch should face towards the archer. So that is the correct way, and the only other way the arrow can clip on would be this way, and that is incorrect. Okay, so that's how the arrow goes on. So now we have our arrow on, we have our fingers. So we use these 3 fingers and we put the string in this first groove. So 3 fingers directly under and on the first groove. So not the tips of your fingers. We don't hold on just with the little tiny tips of our fingers. We want to get that all the way in, and the string should lie in that first groove. The other thing to keep in mind is what we don't want to do is we don't want to vary the height. The lower our hand goes, the lower the arrow will land. So if we keep doing this up and down, randomly just putting our fingers under the arrow, we're going to experience lower arrows, higher shots, and so forth. So when we get these 3 fingers, we're going to put them on first groove, and we're going to just slide them up until they touch the bottom of the arrow. That way we're consistent, we're in the same spot, and we can repeat this time and time again. So after that, we're going to sit up, we're going to draw the bow back. So when we draw the bow back, we're then going to take our pointer finger, and it's going to sit right in the corner of our mouth. And then when we release, we literally just relax our fingers and let our fingers go. Now if you have a look while I'm standing here, this is really quite an easy position to hold myself in. And one of the reasons is because my elbow here is in line with the arrow. If I drop my hand down and try and pull back with a low elbow, it's really hard and difficult to get this finger in the corner of my mouth. And you'll see that with a lot of people who are starting where their hand sort of stops in front of their face instead of going all the way back. So I'll just show you again. So we're going to side on, 3 fingers under, directly under that arrow, point, we're going to draw, see my elbow's nice and high. It's going to come all the way back and into the corner of my mouth. And then I'm just going to relax my fingers and not move until the arrow hits the target. Okay, so the other thing is you know, the basics of archery, we don't look at the arrow, we're just going to look at what we want to hit. So at the moment I'm just drawing, not looking at the arrow, just looking at what I want to hit, and then I'm letting my fingers go. If you want to use the arrow as a gauge to aim higher or lower depending on what distance, that is something that you can do, but you don't look straight down the arrow. So we don't draw back and hold it right up near our eye and try and look straight down the arrow. What we actually do is we're going to have our eye, will be somewhere up here, and we're going to look over the top of the arrow and just use the tip of the arrow. Okay, so if you wanted to do that, you can do that. Everything is exactly the same, except when I come back, at this point, I'm going to hold the tip of the arrow on the target. I'm going to let it go. Depending on what distance will depend on whether that tip of the arrow is under what you're aiming or above. It's never ever going to be just hold the tip of the arrow in the middle and it's going to hit every distance. It doesn't work like that. You will have to learn and experiment on exactly where the tip of the arrow is required to be. So I hope this here helps, and if you do have any questions, just give us a call. Thank you.